Uncivilized Vitality. Here's another video about our Moreygami and all of these cloth tools. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Moreygami and the cloth tool that we use a lot. We've got our uncivilized bandana here, which is pretty big. These are pretty large, about 40 by 40. It's just a big piece of homespun cotton, and we use it for a lot of different things. It varies a little from a traditional shemagh, which has these, which can run anywhere from 36 to 44 inches square, and it's got all these little tassels. And I don't think it's a homespun, but it's almost see-through, very loose weave cotton, pretty much disposable. I use these until they fall apart. They last a few months with outdoors activity, and then you just replace them. They don't cost more than about anywhere from $8 to $10. Or a nice homespun will last longer because it's a heavier weave. But about this square of cloth, you've seen several videos about us using the Moreygami. Some gray, just some different color. The Moreygamis out in the woods on our Fieldcraft adventures for different things. We use them a ton. There are even some made of a netting material, which is used sometimes called a sniper veil or a scrim net. But having this really thin net helps with camouflage, and you can use this for a bunch of outdoor things too. And of course, you know about our large wool hoops, our multi-hoods that I like to use for haversacks, blankets and shawls, even all the way down to the pocket Moreygami, which is just your basic cotton handkerchief. So I'm going to set this one aside and use that. Sometimes we use these 30 by 30 inch square silks. I've got a couple here. A good idea, sometimes not just for the utility, but being the outdoor Fieldcraft, to have something that's bright orange. I can fold up this small orange silk Moreygami, keep that in a pocket somewhere. It's very unobtrusive, and not only can I use it for all the things we're about to show you, but it makes a really big signal panel. And being silk, it's strong. It can be sterilized if you want to use the threads for sutures or something, which you shouldn't do, or just an orange handkerchief for pot holders and different things like that. All right, there's a couple other samples. So I've got some sitting out here. So what we're going to use the Moreygamis for today is a demonstration of one of the source materials I use for some of my Moreygami foldings is something called furoshiki, which is a Japanese word meaning bath mat. Okay, a bath mat. So they used to head out to the public baths in Japan, think like samurai era 1600s feudal Japan. So they had like public bathhouses. The Korean word incidentally is bojagi, right? Bojagi, that's the Korean word. And the Koreans, South Koreans and the Japanese still use the furoshiki a lot for decorative gift wrapping and other ways to carry things. Like instead of using plastic bags, they use them as disposable garbage bags. They will use their furoshiki in lots of different ways. One of the ways, originally it was called a bath mat, which basically is a towel. So they would have a big piece of cloth, they'd go to the public bath, and then when they got there, they'd lay this out on the ground, and on that would be their, let's say their clean clothes. So before I went to the public bath, I would get there, I'd unwrap this, I'd stand on it or dry off with it, I'd have my towel and my clean clothes. On the way to the public bath, I load my furoshiki up with, let's say, some clean clothes and a towel, my toiletries, my toothbrush and my beard comb and all that. And then I would take two opposite corners of the square and I'd pull them in a little ways and just tie a simple overhand knot. Okay? Tucking that through. I'm just going to tie it slipped so I can undo this. So I'd pull that down, an overhand knot, and you can pull all the way through, but I'm just going to slip part of that through. So I've got these two knots, set those into the bag. I take the other two ends, the opposite ends of my bath mat, right? So that's down in a little bag like this. And then I pass that under my right arm onto my back and then around the front. And I'm not going to tie this because I always hit the microphone. Then I just tie a square knot, and now I've got my furoshiki tied up, and I'm on the way to the public bath. Then when I get there, I've got my bath mat, I've got my clean clothes, my towel, everything I need. And then on the way back after the bath, I would just throw my dirty clothes in here and then head back home, all clean, with my laundry all wrapped up. So that's kind of how it started. And then after that, they started using the piece of cloth, the furoshiki, the bath mat, for lots of other things. So they would wrap the dirty clothes in it, the clean clothes. They would transport, say, groceries and different things. We've shown this one a lot. By the way, this video will probably be a little bit on the longer side. I'm going to try to demonstrate a few of the Moreygami uses that we haven't done in a while, or some new ones. And furoshiki, I call them Moreygamis because that's a play on my last name, and origami, another Japanese art, right? That paper folding, the kind where you take a napkin and turn it into a duck or a little penguin or a whale or something. But since I'm always folding these cloths, and I've always have one or two I pocket, I'm always making these things because I was super excited about the furoshiki, or even just wearing my bandana as a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout when I was younger. And now we have the green silk one for our UV uniforms. I forgot who, might have been Logan or Patrick that said it originally, came up with the idea, Moreygami, kind of tongue-in-cheek, and we've just run with that name ever since. What was I saying? Oh yeah, all right, so back to the bath mat. This is going to be a little bit longer. One of the things we do with our bandana, right, we just wrap this up, fold this into a triangle, and the triangle is going to be one of your common starting shapes. You will need to be able to fold your big square cloth or your rectangle into a square, then your square cloth into a triangle, and you'll need to know the overhand knot and the simple square knot, which in Japanese is a mamasubi. So we're going to try those simple knots. Anyway, you have your bandana, you just roll it up, and on the back it's got your little UV, and this would wrap around my neck, go under my collar, and then I would fasten it here with a little piece of paracord or a scarf slide, like in the Boy Scouts, something to gather that up. Or I would just tie a simple slipped knot, which is just an overhand knot around the long end. So now it can slide up and down, but if it ever gets caught and hung up on something, that tail would just pull out, so I don't have to risk any kind of strangulation. So I got my scarf, pop that off, and I need to make a quick bag. We've seen this several times. We lay this out. Okay. We make a triangle with it. And lay that triangle down. And then you're going to take along one of the corners along the base of the triangle, with the peak being up here. And you're going to pull in about halfway, tie an overhand knot. Again, I'm just going to slip that. I made a slip knot there. Then I go to the other corner of the base, fold that in so it's about halfway, or until the edge lines up, the end lines up with the apex down there. Okay? Tie an overhand knot, and you could tie this if you needed a bigger bag. You could tie the knots closer to the end. Now once I have those knots, so my triangle has two knots at the base corners now, I'm going to open my triangle up, open that up, and then sort of flip the whole thing over, pull those knots apart, and tuck them in. Now when I pick up two corners and I sort of shake that down, I get a teardrop shaped drop bag, also called slouch bag or a pear bag or a hobo bag, all sorts of things. To finish making this a bag, I'm just going to tie a simple square knot or a mamasubi at the top. I cross one strand over, in this case right over left, and then I cross the opposite strand over, left over right, to get a square knot. Now I've got a little bag, and into this bag I can put all sorts of things. Once again, I can load this bag up. Now I've got a simple drop bag. I can run that over my shoulder. If this were a little bit bigger cloth, I could get that over my head and neck and wear it like a crossbody or a haversack. This is what I use when I get groceries on the way home, and I don't want to use another grocery or get another plastic grocery bag, right? So I'll just take off my scarf or my bandana, whip up one of these bags and fill it up with canned goods or milk or whatever it is I'm buying. Don't really drink milk, but you get the idea. All right, and then we're right back to the square cloth. So you know about the utility of the bandana. So what we're going to do now is use the silk, and we're going to use it in a less common but still practical way. Maybe I want to carry, I have a couple of my Aesop's Fables. I collect different copies of this, different editions. So I have a couple here, and I don't just want to throw those into my book bag. I don't want them to get scuffed or dirty, but maybe I'm taking them somewhere. I want to show somebody my Aesop's Fables. So I'm going to lay out my scarf, my furoshiki, on a diamond pattern, right? So one corner's up here, our table's not super big, and then it's spread like this. And I'm going to set one of my books right here, and then bring this in and just sort of tuck that corner under. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, opposite. Fold that corner over, lift up my book, and just sort of tuck that in there. Tuck that under. Now you have to play around with this a little bit to get the spacing right, as you'll see in a minute. Right? Tuck that under. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold the books in toward each other. You see I got a little space. I could take that up a bit and bring it back. Maybe I can get one more fold out of this one. All right, so I'll keep folding the books in from the corners, eating up some of that excess cloth. Get that tucked under until the books are right near each other. I'm going to take the opposite corners. I'm going to pull them in and cross them, lay them past each other. Okay? I'm going to lay them past each other down the center, the seam between the books. I'm going to fold the book over the top so they're lying like a sandwich against each other. Then I have the two tails sticking out, and from there, in the very ends, I'll tie a small square knot, and then I can pick my books up, and I've got a little way to carry my books. They're all protected. They can't fall out. I can use this to drop that down inside my larger backpack, and I've got a little handle maybe to pull them out. But my books are covered against spills, any kind of damage, just being protected by the silk scarf, and I've got a little carry handle here. Okay. If I were wrapping these books up as a gift, maybe, right, I wanted to make a different presentation. After I came around like this, I could cross the tails around the books lengthwise. If I didn't need a little handle, and I could tie them again, just a square knot, and now I've got a little bow, and my books are presented kind of in a gift format. And I can use that instead of wrapping paper, so it cuts down on the waste. Okay. Then whoever gets that and unwraps these as a gift and says, oh, look, 2 copies of Aesop's Fables. That'd probably just be me. And then I would set those off the side. And now I've got a silk scarf that I can use to rewrap a gift. All right. So let's wrap another gift. So let's say I've got a small gift I want to wrap for someone. In this case, I'm going to give them some powder-free vinyl exam gloves, because that's what we pulled out of the room. All right, we're going to set that down. We're going to set that in the middle. We're going to bring off the middle a little bit. We're going to bring the corner of one corner all the way over and sort of tuck that under. Okay? I'm going to tuck that under. Now, assuming that this is a gift I can move, I'll just rotate that over a couple of times, right, keeping the cloth out to the side toward the opposite corner. When I get where that opposite corner will just sort of drape over like this, I'm going to set that right there. Okay? So I bring it over so it's hanging. Okay? And now one side of my gift, I'm going to gather all of these folds in, get that kind of nice and tight from the bottom, and bring it up and over the top. And then with my left hand, I'm going to hold that in place for a second. going to do the same thing on the right. I'm going to gather all that up and pull that up nice and tight and come up to the top of the box. All right, then we're going to go left over right. Going to tighten that up. And then we're going to go right over left. And now we've got a little gift wrap with the bow. The two corners are stuck out and it's wrapped nice and neat. Maybe you want to hide that knot, so you can take that tail, bring that up over the top, and just sort of tuck and roll that in till you've got your presentation the way you like it. And this would be a common way to present a gift in the furoshiki wrap, so you haven't wasted a lot of wrapping paper or bows. I mean, it'd work out good if you don't have any wrapping paper for Christmas. You could wrap, I don't know, say wrap all your wife's gifts in furoshiki instead of wrapping paper and bows one year, which was maybe not her favorite thing, all those extra cloth, but that's okay. Then you do like that. Maybe you're, this is not necessarily a gift, that's just the way you're carrying it over. You could do the same thing again, like we did earlier with the books, left over right, right over left, just to the tip, and now you've got a little carry handle, so you can move that around. Okay? So that's another thing you can do. So a little book wrap, a little gift wrap. Oh, I guess I can show you this too. One of the other interesting things is when you look at the knot that's tied, the mamasubi knot, which is basically a square knot. If you look at a square knot, it's got this horizontal part, corresponding horizontal part, and then a vertical part that's sort of where the knot folds and goes back, where this side would head back. If you take the loose tail on the side where that bend is, and the base of that tail, and give them a quick jerk, it straightens that knot out, and then you can just slide, there we go. You can just slide the knot off. You don't have to untie that. Okay. All right, so there's what I get today. Oh, latex free powder exam gloves, yeah. Well, powder free, not latex free. Let's say we're gonna wrap a bottle of, they always say a bottle of wine when they make these demonstrations, but as a teetotaler, I don't condone that activity. So maybe you're just giving somebody a metal water bottle. All right, so there's a couple different ways you can wrap this one, but I'm gonna do this one right here. We're gonna start at one side and we're just gonna roll, keeping the furoshiki spread out. And the silk is easier to work with, especially if you get different patterns, easier to work with than a thicker cotton, but it is a little bit kind of slippery. All right, so I've got this, the bottle wrapped up now, and we've got it standing up. We've got one tail at the top, one tail at the bottom. What I'm gonna do is gonna bring that up, cross those over about midway, and come around to the other side of the bottle. And here we would tie right over left, and then left over right. And if you chose the correct size for a shiki, you'll get a gift wrapped metal water bottle or bottle of wine. Depending on how I made that cross in the back, I could shift that bow up a little higher so that you'd have a nicely gift wrapped present. If you're heading over to someone's house, you can give them the wine. They've got, now they've got an extra furoshiki. They can pay that forward and use less wrapping paper or those, what are those little bags you get all the time? Anytime we give a gift or take a present to someone, we get these little gift bags and then fill them full of the crinkly crepe paper, and then there's a bow, and then never seem to use those bags again. So these are super handy. You can carry that one, you can carry that in your pocket. You could use it not only for outdoor activities, but now you can wrap a couple of books. You can wrap a square box of powder-free exam gloves if you're giving that as a gift, or you can wrap an old metal water bottle that came from our lost and found box in the UV room a minute ago. Speaking of which, if anyone lost that on one of our camp events, our lost and found box is getting pretty full. Come get your stuff. So there is a slightly slower paced video about the furoshiki, which is the, oh, you know what? I'll do one more. Haha, started to wrap it up. My wife got excited. Thought we were done. So let's say I'm going to wrap something up a little smaller. Those gifts were pretty good for about a 50 centimeter furoshiki. But let's say I just have a little cotton handkerchief, and I just need like a little pocket or a pouch. This works pretty good if you tie a knot in two opposite corners. All right, so basically we're making like that drop bag from before. Right? I'm going to tie those two knots opposite corners, right? Just like that. So you got that drop bag, and you could tie these together, but it's awful small. Right? Flip that over, tuck those knots inside. They're tied, and you've got that little drop bag. You can carry things around. And then you could slip this up behind your belt and tie that, and you'd have a little pouch, a little poke to put things in. Okay? But what we're going to do instead is we're going to make a poke. Right? And if you ever heard that expression, pig in a poke is just a small cloth sack, like a purse. Right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take two corners, okay? Two corners that are next to each other, so not opposite, and I'm going to tie a half knot. Okay? So I'm going to tie basically the first half of a square knot. So this time went left over right. I'm going to turn that around. I'm going to grab the other side. I'm going to go left over right again. I'm going to draw that side down. All right, so now I'm going to have this crunched up little square. All right, just like that. Now I'm going to rotate 90 degrees, and I'm going to take the two opposite sides of the corners, because the right and left were tied together with a half knot. And here I'm going to tie a square knot just with the ends of those arms. Do the same thing over here. I know it doesn't look like much yet. Two little square knots in the end with just the end of the bandana corners. All right, so now I can set that out a little bit. I've got the two little handles. I can pick this up, and I can slide my belt through there, or I can just drop this down in my bag. When I need into the bag, I can reach in and open that up, and I'll use this to show you the space, and I can stuff things down into that little bag. Right? I can get a couple more furoshiki down in there. Maybe I'm using this little poke to organize my furoshiki, and I drop those all down in there. Then I can grab these little handles and slide those tight again and tighten this thing up. Right? Just pull those tight, and now I've got a little poke. I got a little stylish bag. I don't know if you'd walk around with that. My wife might do it. I doubt it, but maybe she'd go out there with her phone and her car keys and things in there like a small. Stop making that face. Yeah. Well, you don't want to use my Sasquatch bandana as a purse? That's fine. But anyway, this is called a poke, right? And I could tighten that up even smaller, and I could keep lots of little things in there in my backpack or in my day bag. I'm just carrying it around. I got this little poke. And then when I want in there, I just pull that apart, and I can reach in and pull out whatever I've got. Maybe this could have been an old-fashioned marble bag. You could keep your cords organized in your poke. Right? There's an empty poke. Tie that back up. So there's another little thing you can make with a furoshiki or bath mat or your Moreygami or your bandana. Lots of different uses for those things besides just the backpacks and the outdoors. Hopefully that video was of interest. If you want to see more Moreygami stuff, which I would absolutely love to do, you know what? I'll just keep doing them. But leave your comments below. Which of these have you used? What are some other ways that you've come up with? Have you seen furoshiki before? Here's an example of, besides the silk, this is an actual furoshiki cloth from Japan. And it's got this really neat pattern on it on both sides. Sometimes they have reversible patterns on the opposite sides. And this would be used to wrap a gift and then hand that over to the gift recipient. And after they opened it up, they would set the furoshiki aside in their furoshiki drawer. And then when they were headed out to the grocery store, they'd grab a couple, 2 or 3, throw it in their pocket or their little poke, and then head off to get their groceries or off to the beach or the bathhouse or just making a gift wrapping. And you know that in Uncivilized Vitality, we have modified or adapted that idea to the outdoor use. There's lots of different ways to use the furoshiki wrapping in the outdoors. Okay, so I don't know why this knot got stuck, but figure it out later. So like and share, subscribe to the channel, please. It helps the charity go really well. We also have the Buy Me a Coffee now, which is in the link, or I was supposed to do this up here, Rendell put it, Buy Me a Coffee. Every little bit helps keep the channel going and helps the charity do what the charity is intended to do, which is get people back in the outdoors and experience the benefits of being outside, becoming more capable, adaptable, and durable. Also, purchasing my book on Amazon, Uncivilized Vitality, will help the charity. All the proceeds go there. Comments help with the algorithm, so that's nice. And Jesus Christ, maybe somebody can help me figure this knot out. Maybe I was too efficient with it. All right, that's it. Bye-bye.